Hi, and welcome to the Not Your Dad's Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey, your go to girly for all things feminine leadership, self love, and foundational leadership skills. I hope everything has been good with you. I've been doing good. You guys, since the last episode, I went to Greece on my honeymoon. Actually, I was in Greece when those last two episodes dropped, but it was the most amazing, magical time. We went, let's see, for almost 2 weeks, and we spent 5 days on Crete and 5 days on Santorini. And then we did have to have overnight layovers. So we had like 4 days of traveling. So we had layovers in Zurich and London, and it just was a whirlwind. It was the most amazing time. We had so much fun. We did so much. Greece has always been like my number one travel destination since I read Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants in middle school. And then I watched the movie when it came out when I was in high school. And then a few years ago, like 6 months before our wedding, I read this book called Ariadne, which is a retelling of the myth of the Minotaur and, Theseus and just the whole slaying of the Minotaur and the labyrinth. So after looking it up, Knossos Palace, where the book took place, is actually a real place. And, it was built in like 1600 BC. So I was like, okay, we are going to Greece. I want to go check out this palace. Well, it's the ruins of the palace. I shouldn't say it's still standing like pristinely. But even though it did take a few years to go on our honeymoon, I do not regret it. Do not let society like pressure you into going right away or like just go whenever. And we finally were able to go, and we were both in a better financial and mental place than we were a few years ago. So I am so happy we waited. It just would have been a totally different trip. So when I was standing in Knossos Palace in on Crete in Greece, I was just like listening to the tour guide tell the myth. I was just like so like this wave of just like gratitude and like, oh my gosh, we did it. Like I had visualized this for years, and there I was. And it was just so magical. And yeah, just like the whole thing, the whole 2 weeks was just so much fun. And yes, we did watch the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants while we were sitting in a giant jacuzzi in our cave home in Santorini. I had to show that to my husband so he knew why going to Santorini was important to me as well as Crete. So he was really psyched for Santorini. We were just really psyched for the whole thing. The best time. So, but I think my biggest takeaway was how much I really love Vacation Lindsey. Vacation Lindsey has so much energy. She's so present. She's enjoying the little moments. She is very YOLO, and she is relaxed, and she's not sweating the small stuff. And, I was like, how can I be like that every day, even at home? And obviously, it's different when you're on vacation, you have little responsibilities. And, you're not just stuck up in the humdrum of like everyday life and just with everything going on in our country and in the world. I get it's totally different, but that mindset can stick with us. So I am choosing to be Vacation Lindsey for now and embody her every single day. So we shall see how that goes. I'll keep you updated. But yeah, if you ever are going to Santorini or Crete and want some recommendations, just let me know. I got them for you. Okay. So I know we all have different algorithms. And of course, my algo is full of leadership stuff. But did anyone else see that interview with Emma Grede, who she helps Khloe Kardashian with Good American. She helps Kim with Skim. So And then I think she has her own businesses. Honestly, I don't really know. I'm sorry. Um, that's what I know her from. But she said, and I quote, work life balance is your problem. It's not the employer's responsibility. End quote. And this was said on a podcast that she was being interviewed for. And, in my feed, it was people arguing for her comments and against her comments. And honestly, like, I didn't really care either way. Like, people can have their opinions, and that's her opinion and her view of the world. And, people's arguments and opinions are valid to them. And I always want to be curious about people's view of the world and why they think the way that they do. And with that being said, yes, at the end of the day, her comments do come from a place of privilege. She has made a lot of money. She's, at the top of the hierarchy. So she can basically make her own rules. And it doesn't even begin to address the state of work right now, of politics, and of capitalism. So for me, if I'm being really quite frank and honest, this conversation actually really triggered me. And I think, not even I think, I know the words work life balance are just really triggering to me in general. And I get angry because I feel like this is a conversation mostly centered around women. You don't really hear men getting asked this question often, at least I don't. So I guess, women are just expected to give more, more at home, more at work, and also always doing the emotional labor. So if they're expected to give more, what balance are they giving? And whether they give too much or too little of themselves is all up for debate. So that was my annoyance more with this conversation versus, what Emma said was her answer. It was just more that she was even being asked this in the first place. And as someone who worked around the clock and was super ambitious in my 20s, work life balance wasn't even like a part of a conversation I had with myself. It's like you want to move up, you work, you say yes to everything, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be ambitious and want to work hard. But if you've been around here long enough and heard my story, you know how that turned out. I got really, really burnt out and let go from that same job that I had worked around the clock and given my whole life to. And I'm not here to knock work life balance. Like, if that term works for you, I love that for you. And maybe this episode isn't going to be for you. But to me, work life balance is just not realistic. Balance assumes, the word balance assumes that you can give 50-50 all the time. But life just isn't like that. And sometimes we're 80-20. Sometimes we're like 110-0. Sometimes we're 70-30, 60-40. That doesn't mean we're doing it wrong. It just means we are human. So I feel like this term makes ambitious women or women who get fulfillment from working feel guilty. And it makes women who get fulfillment from their personal life feel guilty. And there is no right or wrong either way. It's just another way to make women feel shamed for existing outside of societal expectations and actually even within them. And as you know, I am not a fan of that. So, after turning this over and over in my brain, after hearing this interview, I was thinking, what is another way we could say this? How can we change the conversation? What should we strive for instead of balance? How can women exist and work and play and take care of themselves and take care of their families without feeling guilty? And my brain screamed the words, work-life intention. Work-life intention. And I realized, yes, this is actually what I've been practicing the last 5 years without putting a name to it. I am still just ambitious as I was in my 20s. I still have that fire in my heart and drive to succeed, but I just approach things differently now because the world has changed. I have changed. My priorities have changed, and my definition of success has changed. And I've learned how to exist without putting all my worth into my job title and achievements. I have de-centered work, if you will. I love work and I love my job, but it's not my everything and it doesn't define who I am. So, how do we practice work-life intention? In this episode, I'm going to talk about what the word intention really means, what work-life intention is, and how to practice it, and of course, what's important to know while practicing work-life intentions. The skills behind the skill, if you will. So let's get into it. Let's start with something simple that we don't talk about enough, like what is actually an intention? What is an intention? Because we hear that word all the time, especially in self-development spaces. Hi. You've probably heard set your intentions or lead with intention. And most of us are like, cool, cool, cool. But what does that actually mean to me and my day-to-day life? So here's how I define intention. An intention is a conscious choice about how you want to show up, not just what you want to get done. It's the why behind your to-do list, the energy behind your actions. It sets the tone before you ever say a word or take a step. It's not just about getting things done. It's about deciding what kind of presence you want to bring while you're doing them. So, for example, let's just say you're heading into a team meeting. Your goal, might be, I need to give feedback on this project. But your intention could be, I want to be clear and kind. I want to address the real issue without being harsh. That intention gives your actions direction. It helps you lead with purpose and not just check off a box. And over time, these small intentional choices shape how you lead, how people experience you, and how you feel showing up to your own work. So now I want to zoom out a little. What if we applied that same mindset, that intentional way of being to our whole life? That's where this idea of work-life intention comes in. Because for so long, the conversation has been about balance. Achieve work-life balance. Like, we're just supposed to perfectly split our energy 50-50 and call it a day. But life doesn't work like that. Some weeks, work takes up more space. Other weeks, you need to prioritize your relationships, your rest, your mental health, and work needs to take a back seat. And that's not a failure. That is just life. Work-life intention says, let me be thoughtful about how I am showing up across all parts of my life. It's not about getting it perfect. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about asking, what do I need this week, this month, this year? What matters most right now? So say you are saving up to buy a house. So receiving more money is the goal. And you can get more money by getting a promotion. You get the promotion by working harder, maybe longer hours, and taking on more responsibilities. And some people may want to make you feel guilty for working more, or you yourself feel guilty for working more. But you know the real intention behind it. And once you put the key in that door to your house, you will know it was all worth it, even if it didn't feel balanced. So instead of guilt tripping yourself throughout this process, you know the intention all along. And whatever the feeling was behind this intention, whether it be safety, security, stability, or just being proud of yourself for working hard and buying a home, whatever it is, you don't have to explain it to anyone. Or maybe you're not chasing a new goal right now. You're not overextending yourself at work. You're not filling every weekend with brunches and to-do lists and emotional labor. You're just being and seeing what happens from that state of just being. Maybe you've come off a season of burnout. Maybe you finally realize you don't need to prove your worth by how much you give. And so your intention right now, peace, stillness, letting your nervous system take a big exhale. These kind of seasons matter just as much as the busy ones. So when you rest with intention, you can come back with your full power. Or maybe someone you love is sick and suddenly your priorities shift. You're saying no to things at work, pulling back on commitments, canceling coffee dates, not because you don't love those things, but because you're clear on your intentions. The intention isn't to do less, it's to show up where it matters most right now. The goal might be flexibility or time, but the deeper why, it's compassion, devotion, taking care of someone you love. And that's not a lack of ambition or a lack of balance. That's actually really powerful leadership. It's choosing being present over the pressure to do it all, presence over pressure. And maybe you are thinking, but Lindsey, wait, what if work is demanding while my loved one is sick? And I hear you. And let me say this gently but directly, that leadership is not about pretending life isn't happening. It's about navigating life with intention, even when it's hard. So, yes, work might be demanding, but your capacity, your energy, and your priorities have shifted. And pretending that hasn't happened will only create more pressure, more guilt, and more burnout. So, here are 3 ways that leading with intention can sound like in those moments. And these are how you communicate to yourself or to other people. I'm in a tough season personally, and I may need more support to keep my quality of work high. 2, I care deeply about my role, and I also need to care for my family right now. Let's talk about a plan that helps us both. And the last one, I want to stay in integrity with my work, which means I need to communicate what's possible and what's not right now. So, like I said, these can be conversations with yourself, with your family, or with your work. It's just being really honest about what you need and what they need, and then working together. So, you can also feel free to come up with some similar phrases or statements for yourself that resonates with you and your circumstances and your workplace. And when I'm working with clients, these are things I can help you with. So they are unique and personalized to you. So That's what work-life intention really is. It's staying connected to why you're doing what you're doing, even in a season that feels full or messy or like a lot is happening at once. It's leading from your values, not just from your calendar. Because when you lead with intention, it's not about doing it all perfectly. It's about letting how you want to feel guide what you say yes to. So let me ask you, what would change if you weren't trying to balance it all? If you led with intention instead? Okay, so of course, me being me, I asked myself, where can this go wrong? How could this be misconstrued? How could this turn bad instead of good? And like just like how I was in my 20s when I overworked myself to burnout. So, here are a few skills behind the skills for practicing work life intention. First, you must practice fierce self awareness and self honesty. Give yourself space and permission to reflect. Let yourself feel without judgment. Know yourself well enough that you know when you are getting overwhelmed or tired or acting out of character. Like I talked about at the beginning, sometimes we take it too far and we start to get burnt out. That's when we can set a new intention about working hard while taking care of ourselves. Second, you must know your long term why or purpose behind what you're doing. On those long nights when you're working a double shift or traveling for work away from your family or leaving work early to go to your kids' dance recital, just remember the why behind it. And hopefully, your why is rooted in your values. Because if not, then we need to talk. Okay, third, you must make time for yourself. And this is non negotiable. Always, always, always make time for yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes. Because if your body is burnt out, your brain's foggy, your energy is all over the place, and you can't access clarity. You can't reflect honestly. You can't tap into your why. Taking care of yourself is what makes those things possible. It gives you a clear channel to hear your own voice again, not just the noise of the day, not just the noise coming from everyone else, your own internal voice. And you can't lead others well if you're disconnected from yourself. Okay. This isn't optional, this is foundational. Take care of yourself. So, to wrap this up, work life balance, think of it like this. Work life balance is like trying to carry two buckets, one called work and one called life, and making sure they always weigh the exact same. So you don't fall over and you're always even and everything is just fine and dandy. But guess what? That's really hard because sometimes one bucket just needs more water, like when you have a big project or your grandma is sick or you just freaking need a nap. So, when we reframe work life balance to work life intention, we can say, hey, it's okay if one bucket is heavier right now. Just make sure you know why you're carrying it. So instead of trying to get everything perfectly even, you're asking yourself, what matters most to me right now? And then leading from that place. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank yourself, of course. And if you have found this helpful or something in this episode resonated with you, or if you know it will resonate with someone else, please share it. And if you want to chat, I am always a DM or email away. So talk to you soon. Bye.